Hello and welcome to The Den. My name is Eric and it is Saturday and I am in beautiful Rehoboth Beach, Delaware for the Son of a Beach rugby tournament, and I am here with my little steamroller rugby football, and my husband is out picking up Chinese food, so I'm recording this video at the absolute last minute. And yeah, so here we are. So this week's videos have been about gay rights and gay marriage, and my video is going to be no different. I'm here to talk about gay rights in DC and gay marriage in DC, and a little bit, I'm going to expand on it a little bit more because we haven't really talked about some of the other shit that's going down in places that are pretty terrible. So I'm going to start by talking about DC, but I really want to kind of shift focus to the rest of the world. So in Washington, D.C., gay marriage is legal, and it has been legal since 2010. The act was passed in 2009 to make gay marriage legal in the District of Columbia, and Congress decided to not fuck with that, thankfully. And we were able to start getting married in 2010, which is right around when my husband and I got married. I think we actually got married in 2011. I can't remember exactly. I remember what day the wedding was, so that's really what counts, right? So marriage is a really super important part of the whole package of equal rights among people, but it is by far not the only thing, and I think that a lot of people have been kind of focused on marriage equality as the kind of the be-all, end-all of gay rights, and it's completely ludicrous to even think that, because there are so many other problems that are related to injustice that need to be addressed as well. So I want to talk a little bit about that stuff too. So I'm actually on the Wikipedia page here for gay rights in general, and I want to kind of go down through some of these bullets because they're actually, it's really eye-opening when you think about the fact that there are certain things that other people can do that you aren't allowed to do, and to have them just kind of enumerated via bullet points is kind of crazy. Blood donations. This kind of stemmed out of the HIV/AIDS epidemic years in the 1980s when blood transfusions were not being screened well enough, and people donating blood were donating HIV-infected blood, and that led to instances of individuals who contracted HIV and eventually full-blown AIDS because of blood transfusions. So the National Blood Registry in the United States has nixed it, but there are other countries in the world that haven't. And I'm going to show you a chart of the other countries that kind of do and don't. So adoption rights are another thing that a lot of times people just forget about. There are states within the United States where you cannot legally adopt a child if you are in a same-sex relationship. And the District of Columbia is not one of those places, thankfully. In D.C., you can be a single parent, you can be a single male, a single female, a couple, a lesbian couple, a gay couple, a heterosexual couple, an elderly couple, and foster care and adopt children. And actually, one of my friends recently adopted with his partner 3 children, and they now have their forever home, and it's amazingly awesome. But even he had this instance where people at his work basically said, oh, yeah, you adopted children, but, like, we're not gonna do anything. We're not going to have a party for the fact that you adopted your children. And it's just like, that to me just is so fucking awful. And people who poo-poo gay adoption are assholes. Another big thing that people are working on are immigration laws. So one of the things that happens at the DC Center for LGBT People is, a roundtable about people who are going through immigration-related issues. There are people that are seeking asylum because they are coming from a country where they could be killed, for who they are. There's a ton of countries, and I'll show you a chart, where people could, you can be arrested, you can be imprisoned for life. If you're caught having same-sex sex, then you could be killed or lynched and murdered, like, but through street justice. It's fucking insane, the kinds of things that people are doing out there. So people need to escape these kinds of situations, and the United States is actually one of the better places for them to go. The other thing that happens in terms of immigration are couples that fall in love internationally. And so the United States has gotten a lot better about this piece by piece. Couples who are in international relationships, gay couples who are in international relationships, can get married in the United States, and now the immigration service will recognize these marriages the same as they do heterosexual marriages. They still can be challenged, for various reasons, but so can heterosexual couples that are in international relationships. So that is another thing that, people just don't even think about it. And this is why marriage specifically is something that is so crucial, because one of the big reasons why marriage versus civil unions or domestic partnerships is so critical is because the actual term marriage has legal definitions that have implications, thousands of implications, over 1,000 implications in federal law. And so when you create separate but equal systems where you use different terminologies, because you're using a different terminology, that terminology doesn't have the same recognition that a term that has legal weight does. So you could have a civil union in Vermont back in the day when that was the thing that you did, but the federal government would just ignore it because a civil union did not mean anything in terms of legal weight in the federal government. So employment non-discrimination is another big factor. It's another big piece of the gay rights puzzle. In a lot of states, you can be fired for any reason or no reason at all. A lot of those are considered right-to-work states. But in those places where there are legal protections for people, even those places do not have legal protections for people who are in same-sex relationships. So, for instance, I currently live in the District of Columbia, and my marriage is recognized in D.C., but I and my partner, my husband, is covered under my insurance in the District of Columbia. If I moved to Virginia, on the other side of the river, it would not necessarily be recognized because my marriage would not be valid in the state of Virginia, and the municipality that I would work for, depending on which county, may or may not recognize it there either. And, beyond that, I could be fired for any reason whatsoever. Like, everyone's permanently at will in Virginia, basically. So the fact that people can be fired for being gay is also bullshit. Being in a same-sex relationship or being someone who loves someone of the same gender is not something that is currently classified under equal employment opportunity rules. You cannot be discriminated against in the workplace for being of a certain religion, of a certain race, ethnic background, or your gender. I should say biological sex, because gender and sex, as you and I probably both know, are different things. But a lot of times when we talk about employment non-discrimination, what comes up first is transgender discrimination, because those are the people that often are the ones who are the least likely to get justice when it comes to employment discrimination. Transgender people get fucked over in terms of employment all the time, and there's no reason for that either. Hate crimes. So hate crimes are when someone is attacked for being of a particular class of person. So a lot of times when people talk about hate crimes, they talk about crimes against people because they are of a different race, or crimes against people because they are of a certain religion. But hate crimes happen against LGBT people a lot, and it's horrible. Beatings, murders, transgender murder is like the number one thing on people's radar these days, because a lot of trans girls get killed because a lot of them are, because they are discriminated against in the workplace, they don't have regular steady jobs, and because they don't have regular steady jobs, they find ways to make money, and a lot of them wind up working the streets as sex workers, and so they wind up in situations where they're turning tricks, and the guy finds out that they're transgender, and they flip and wind up killing this young girl who had no other way to make her way in the world, and it's heartbreaking and tragic. So when we talk about hate crimes, we're talking about crimes that would not have occurred had the individual who was assaulted or murdered, or who was the victim of the criminal act, had been of any other particular race or class, which should be considered a protected class under legal definitions. What is a protected class? There are certain things that are protected classes, and currently right now in the United States, being gay or being transgender are not considered protected classes for pretty much anything. So hate crimes legislation really helps a lot to try to expand the definition of what is a protected class of person, so that prosecutions can happen to put people away and send messages that this is not acceptable behavior ever at all anymore. So, that's my video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and go down into the crotch area and click the subscribe button. It's right down over there. You can just see it. It's just out of reach down there. And if you want to be involved in Men of the Den, like, join the discussion, like, find us online. You can go to our Facebook, you can go to our Twitter, you can go to our Tumblr, you can go to our Instagram. You can find us here on YouTube. We're all over the place. Come join the den, join the discussion, and I will see you next week when we're talking about our favorite movies. I can't wait to tell you what my favorite movie is. Cheers. You can not be discriminated